You know, you
You know,
always
you always
turn me down.
done.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another segment of Straight Talk with Grover Thornton. As you know, this program is designed to inform, inspire, and to educate you on how governments impact our lives, state, national, and local. This show is produced by our black media, Mr. Julius Hall, President and Chief Executive Officer. We have a very excellent guest here tonight, and these are critical times that we living in today, especially during our election. Our democracy is hanging in the balance, and we must vote. We'll talk about all that later. But I have an excellent guest here tonight. After she finishes her show, I'm going to go over some observations with you on some important things that we need to know to keep our democracy alive. This man that was president is very dangerous. We have the guest tonight. She's running for, listen to me well, for the 1st Congressional District. That is a district that Jack Kingston used to have, and when they added the district, he was now representing another area. And that area is being, in the 1st Congressional District, a new person, Buddy Carter. Now, I have not known him to be involved in anything dealing with the African community. I guess he took the position because they did the district. He does not have to do it, but even when the district was not moved or changed, he never did involve himself with anything dealing with the black community. Now, we have a lady running here tonight for this show that I endorse, and I have to because she's a Democrat, and we need to unseat this Republican. I don't have to tell y'all anything about the Republican Party. They want to do it well. With a lot of good things they want to do with that helps people. And this lady name is Mrs. Patti Hewitt. She is our guest tonight and running for the 1st Congressional District. Her name will be on the ballot, and I have her name. You can see her now on her placard right behind me here. Ms. Hewitt, I want to welcome you to my show tonight.
Well, it is an honor, truly, to be here. Thank you.
And I just want to get you to communicate with the people and to let people know your position on issues, and also to avail yourself of what the community expects of those that we support, that we expect them to do for us. And you and I talked yesterday for about 2 or 3 hours in the office, and your manager was with us, but she was unfortunate she can't come tonight. but she was here. So the first question I'm going to ask you, ma'am, is tell me and tell the audience. Really, you already told me, but tell the audience why you want to run for this office. That's the first thing we want to get clear. Why there are a lot of offices here, a lot of other areas. Why you want to run for this office, First Congressional District?
Well, the reason that I wanted to run for Congress is because Congress controls the budget, meaning that I can have influence over how money is spent in Congress. And I want to have influence over money in order to make investments in our working families and to provide a pathway to prosperity for our low-income families in particular. I want to break the cycle of poverty. I want to make investments that are going to matter to people in their everyday lives, to help them do the things that they need to do in order to provide for their families, but more than that, in order to have a pathway to prosperity for them and their children. And this is why I want to run for Congress. I've been living in this area almost 10 years. I've been working in politics and community work almost that entire time. And what I've learned is that there are the working families and the low-income populations of this district, 15 counties, 780,000 people have been neglected by the current representative. They've been neglected in the way that investments have been made for them. They've been neglected in being able to access health care. Women now no longer have the right agency to get the health care that they need when they need it. Make significant changes, but we need to shift the balance away from large corporations and wealthy individuals who have been accruing all of the benefits of our prosperity. You know, we live in one of the fastest growing regions of Georgia. There is tremendous opportunity here. I want to unlock that opportunity for our families, and especially for our working families. And the reason for that is because I come from working family.
Yeah.
I come from the middle class. My mother was a house maker. My dad was a salesman. My grandparents emigrated here from Italy, never spoke a word of English. Do you know my grandparents never spoke a word of English?
Oh, really?
But they would not teach me Italian because they thought that that was not American.
Yeah.
And that in order to be American, I had to speak English. And that was their belief. And so these are the things, Mr. Thornton, that drive me, because this is the background that I come from. This is the life that I understand. This is the impact. You talked about impact and the impact of government.
Very right.
That's why I'm running this race, is to have impact.
Now the next question I want to ask you on, maybe I should have asked this first, but anyway, to get the information from you, regardless. Tell us something about yourself. You went to school, you just tell us something about your background.
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to. First of all, though, I want to congratulate Stephen Curry and our U.S. basketball team for taking home gold in the Olympics.
Oh, that's good.
Shout out in the chat, please. Our U.S. teams have done great.
Yeah.
And Stephen Curry led us to the gold. So we are very happy about that.
In fact, the last count that I saw yesterday, there were other countries behind America, but we had 92 at that time. 92 gold medals. We had more medals than any other country that participating in this Olympic.
That's exactly right. And look at how amazing our athletes are. So
and that's what
very proud of them.
And that's what makes me feel so bad, man. That's what makes me feel so disgusted with my country. It does not make how much progress we make. We still come back and they're still treating us like second-class citizens. And we've been in this country over 400 years. Jesse Owens during the war. Hitler was there at the Berlin Olympics. He would not even shake Jesse Owens' hand. Jesse won 3 or 4 gold medals because they were saying that the Germans were the super leaders, the super people, and he outran them over and over and over. But when he came back to his own country, that same German that was against him would be treated better in his own country than he.
Well, then it must make you feel wonderful to see
I do feel
people
wonderful.
like Steve Murray,
Yes, it
see
does.
people like Simone Biles,
Yes.
Noah,
Yeah, that's another. Look at that
all
young
of
lady.
all
That
these
young lady
people, these
is
young Black athletes
yes,
that
sir.
have really led the way. So I hope that feels
And
great
build
to
up the
you.
country, but it never changes these people's hearts. A lot of them, just like for instance, and I'm glad you mentioned that. But the thing that you did coming up, but the bottom line, when you mentioned, you want to mention about the Olympics, so I got to say that young lady is fantastic.
Yeah, she really is. She really is great. I don't have an athletic background. Let me just say that. I do play a little gold in high school. That's about most I did in sports is all I can share with you. I didn't do much more than that.
But I just like your attitude on a lot of other things. and so when
but I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Even more.
Yes,
you already
sir.
started even more. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I grew up in Bayside, Queens, in New York. Again, a product of the middle class. My mom was a homemaker. My dad was a salesman. And that's, I went to public school, public high school there. And unfortunately, my father passed away when I was a senior in high school. And perhaps like many of our listeners today, these events in our lives, especially when we're young, send us on a trajectory that we didn't expect. But I did end up getting my college degree. I didn't get it right away in the way that I would have liked. I had to work my way through school, but I did. It took me 7 years. It's still one of my proudest accomplishments. I graduated from the University of Miami with a bachelor's degree in English, cum laude, and I'm very proud of that because it was a lot of hard work to get there. So that's a little bit about my education background.
And what year was that?
Oh, I have to tell you the year?
No, really, I say that because I want to know.
It was 1981.
No, well, 80. Okay, I want to know. At that time, we didn't have segregated schools and universities, which is stupid.
No. And Miami was a very integrated city.
Yeah,
there was a lot of different groups in Miami, which was one of the things I loved about Miami.
Well,
I really enjoyed living there.
You know, I just hate racism. I hate racism, period. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing to black people, just gerrymandering. And ladies and gentlemen, what that means is when they talk about gerrymandering, there's a group of black folk. And what they'll do, they'll bring in other races of people like white people in to dilute the vote. So when the vote does come, then the black folk don't have a chance to even run a black person. But now I got to say the one good thing that Supreme Court did, even though they did a lot of other terrible things, that's why Biden wants to change the law. But that's going to be a long time for that to even take place because it has to be a constitutional amendment. They have to add that to the Constitution. And so to do that, you got to have 2/3 of the House of Representatives, you got to have 2/3 of the Senate, and you got to have 3/4 of the states to change that, to put binding on the Supreme Court. All they got in the Constitution that they will serve for life. But what Biden is saying, that they serve for 18 years, and that's it, including if they were to pass it tomorrow, including the time they've already served or be involved for that 18 years.
You know, I think you bring up such a good point. First of all, we have to recognize the fact that the Republicans stole a seat from the Democrats during Obama's last year of his administration. And so they very intentionally wanted to pack the court.
Yes,
and I think that President Biden is correct in saying we need to ensure that we have the proper guardrails in place so that doesn't happen again. You know, Mr. Thornton, I think what we are seeing is that the Trump administration did a lot of testing of our boundaries.
Yes.
They tested a lot of our guardrails, the things that we really took for granted. We felt that this was the way our government would operate and that people would do things with integrity, with respect to the office. And we found out that isn't going to always be the case.
Well,
and that now we know that with Project 2025, the Trump administration is putting forward much more measures, much more extreme personnel, and the Republican Party, of which my opponent is a member and the very first member in Georgia to endorse President Trump for his reelection, and also one of the members that voted to throw our votes out on January 6th. So we know he will follow orders. that the Republican Party are following behind Trump, so we can't depend on the Republican Party to put up guardrails and help preserve our democracy. Do you agree with that?
I agree with everything you said. But what now? My next question was, while you're talking, I know you got to really love the Democratic Party to be a member of the Democratic Party, and I know you are happy to endorse with the party's nominee, Vice President Kamala.
Oh yes, I think that Vice President Harris, to me, represents our country and the way our country looks right now.
Exactly.
Our country is a pluralistic country. We are made up of many different backgrounds, races, creeds, and our country is there as a beacon to bring people in where they feel they can feel safe to be who they are, to practice their religion, to live their culture, and to be good neighbors. And I think when I look at Kamala Harris, I see our country. And I love that because she represents not just where we are today, but the future. And she has a vision for this country's future. You know, the other thing about Vice President Harris, I'm sure you'll agree, is that she's so experienced. She has tremendous experience and excellent education, excellent experience both in leadership roles in her state and now 4 years as vice president. Yes. So she is highly qualified for this role, and she is going to make a great president. I am Harris Waltz 100% behind you.
The lady is very qualified, but I read the history of some of the presidents of the past. Now, Andrew Johnson, who took over when President Lincoln was assassinated, he couldn't even read. His wife taught him how to read. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Well, you take me from me.
How about that?
I finished reading the book the other day, and it was about Lincoln. Lincoln made a covenant with God, and Lincoln told God that if he blessed him to lead the soldiers and win this war, he'll free the slaves. And when they were losing, no question about it, Robert E. Lee was tearing the Union Army up. They were losing battle after battle. And one of the worst battles, the second one they had was Antietam in Virginia, and Grant. The other McCulloch was not a good leader. He was not a good leader. Like Trump is not a good leader. And when Lincoln got enough of him, he got rid of him, and when he got General Grant, Ulysses Grant. He was a drink. He loved that liquor, but he could fight. And he put something on Lee. And of course, when they got to the biggest thing that brought the victory, when the victory was won, he came to his cabinet. He didn't tell anybody he was working on the Emancipation Proclamation. Nobody knew it except the guy who was over the telegraph. And every day, just about, he go an hour or two. And he had a desk that locked, and he told this man, said, don't show this to anybody. If you want to read, it's fine, but don't show it to anybody else. And he said, I'll give you my honor, my pledge. I won't show this to anybody, which he did not. And so when he finally wrote that draft like he wanted, he went before his cabinet, and he told them they know they're going to eventually have it. And when they read it, they said, that's excellent, but we need to wait until we get a victory, which made sense. Because they did it right now. They said, well, sure that they were what? If they were losing, the attitude said, we lose. Oh, we got them now because they're scared. They lose. They do them to get the slaves to help them and all that, which they did. 150,000 slaves fought in the Union Army to help get their own freedom. And that's why when that victory was won, he took that as a sign from God, and he went on and freed the slaves. The man gave his life to free the slaves. He was not an abolitionist, but he believed in right. And I'm telling my audience, if you ever want to read something that'll touch your heart, read Lincoln's second inaugural address. When he talked about, he'd already made a commitment to God, but he talked about this, in that address, both of us are asking God to win this war. He had so many words. He asked God to win the war, and he's taking the bread from a man That's a slave. And he said that God brought this war upon us. That's what God did. God had all kinds of ways of doing things. So keep that in mind. And when the slaves were freed, but they didn't even want Lincoln to even make that address when they won at Gettysburg. But Lincoln made that speech for less than 3 minutes. And it's been the Gettysburg Address been a piece of art for history over 250 years almost. And when the man that preceded him, his name was he was the president of Harvard University. He spoke for about 2 hours, and Lincoln spoke less than 10 minutes, and his words have lasted forever.
Forever.
And during that war, 51,000 for 3 days. 51,000 men were wounded, dead, or missing. That's a lot of men for freedom. Why they didn't want, and we still don't have freedom. That's why I'm so glad to have you say you were with the Democrats when you came in the first place. Because if you were the Republican, I wouldn't talk to you in the first place. But I'm so glad you are.
Well, I'm a proud Democrat.
And I'm glad you're supporting Ms. Harris.
I proudly support
Yeah.
Vice President Harrison,
Yes.
all of our candidates up and down
Yeah,
the ballot. We have
up, down
great
the ballot.
Democratic candidates
And I want
running in a lot of different seats, folks. So
And I want
all of our candidates.
And I want the audience to know that I think your name is the second one on the back.
It is.
So anywhere in the world, y'all can miss her.
It is.
Now y'all see the sign back in behind my back here in my den here? That's her sign. That's her name. And she's a Democrat. And we got to get in office. Listen, they have not passed the George Floyd bill yet. They were Floyd bill. And the other bill, the right to vote bill. They have not passed those things. Because the border, he kept talking about the border. And the Republicans and the Democrats got together and they compromised. And they will bring a solution to the
A
border.
chance to pass that bill pretty much had everything.
And what Trump did, told the Republicans
Said no. And what did our representative here in the first
in this
district
church,
do?
that's why I say
He voted no
he voted no too.
because Trump told him to vote no.
That's numbers. I know people may get mad at me, but one thing I like about America, that's one thing I like. You have your mind, your peace of mind. So that man was I was so disgusted with that man. I got mad with that boy, and that boy shot and missed him. I'm gonna be honest. I ain't no hypocrite. I'm gonna be honest with you. And if you read the 55th Psalm, my own son, he gets mad when I say, I'll tell you about it. I'm mad with him. I want him in a casket. That's where I want him at. Because he's that low, dirty. He's not worth a human being.
Well,
I said,
I
wait a
have
minute.
to respectfully disagree with
Well,
you.
I respect your opinion. But then I go to the Bible.
Political
Listen,
violence is never
never the
the
thing.
answer.
That's true. But okay, that is true.
Yeah,
I try to get out. The violence is never the solution. But when I look at this, though, tell me what this say, the word of God. David killed, Saul killed his 1,000, David his 10,000, and yet David was a man after God's own heart. Number one, get your own Bible and read the 55th Psalm. What David said, let death come upon them because they're evil. Don't tell me to read, believe the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, etc., and believe that, and don't believe this.
There is a very simple way to get rid of Trump, and that is don't vote for him.
Yeah, but you got
vote for Kamala.
Exactly. But I'm just trying
to get rid of him.
I'm just trying to tell you that so many make me so mad what they did. Nobody's talking about the 7 men that lost their life. Suppose that was your son. Suppose that was my brother, working for the protective Capitol. And when they invaded the Capitol because that no good man told them to come to Washington. Now, another thing, he's saying that he's calling these people who were criminals, racists, insurrectionists. He's not calling them because they're in jail. He's calling them hostages. That's what he said, that we got these people.
Well, I mean, Trump is a convicted criminal, and he doesn't recognize that either. So
yes.
If it's something that he disagrees with or he wants his acolytes to follow him, then he's going to create these narratives that have no truth behind them. They just make them up in their heads.
Yeah, but he called these people.
I mean, they're convicted felons, just like he's a convicted felon.
And people used to look at, I'd like to be president one day. What kind of example is for young people?
Well, that's exactly why we need to make sure he never gets back in the White House.
Because he is dangerous.
Because he is dangerous.
The man is dangerous. That's
He
why
is
we got to
dangerous.
vote and put people in office
Mhm.
that, like yourself, who run for office. And that's why I wanted, when you said you was a Democrat when I first met you, and you when I met you at when you honored Mr. Gilliard with the program sponsored by Rebels Leonard Small, the man who I have the highest respect for. The one thing about him and the late Benny mentioned, they would speak out on its effect on the black people.
Good.
They would speak out, and leadership is what's missing in this community.
And let me say this, that speaking of the George Floyd Reform Act, Senator Warnock just reintroduced that into the Senate. He just reintroduced it again.
So he reintroduced it again.
He introduced it again. And when I get to Congress, I am going to back that act, because it takes what happened to not only to George Floyd, but to Sonia Massey and other people that have been murdered by police. It looks at what the problems are that cause that and tries to solve these problems. This is what we should be doing with legislation, determining what is the problem that we have, how did we get there, and what is the best solution. This act has all sorts of common sense solutions in it to protect, but also all of our good, which most of our police departments are wonderful. Most of our policemen are wonderful, but they need support. They need mental health counselors to be working with them. They need bias training. They need to understand that it isn't just violence first, violence second, violence third, that there are other ways to diffuse situations.
Well,
and that act will provide a lot of that for them, but also hold them accountable for their behavior. And I think that's very important. As citizens, we need to know that our police are not rogue out there doing things that are illegal. So I think that's very important. So I shout out to Senator Warnock for doing a great job. This is the kind of work that I want to do when I get to Congress. I don't want to stand up and make things up and create lies and other things to get people excited. I just want to go to work.
Tell me, you in your conversation, you've already enumerated a lot of things that you would do. Have you any other thing that you should mention that you would like to see done to uplift families? Now, because I say that, because now reading an article, I think it's from the Southern Parliament Law Center, and it was saying that 100 men, corporation leaders, listen to me well, 100 corporation leaders in their retirement, when they finish working their retirement, they make more money than 41% of the American people. In other words, almost 50% of money they make with their income than all the other 50% of the American people. And that's a lot of money they make.
That doesn't sound right, does it?
No, it sure does not sound right.
I agree.
So,
that is not
so
right.
the question I was going to ask you, the lead question
right.
I was going to ask you, that's why I mentioned that, is what is your position on minimum wage, the $15 minimum wage?
We have to have a living wage. We have to determine what is the wage that a family of 4 people, which is the average family in the United States, the average family needs to survive. Is it $15 an hour? Then if it's $15 an hour, that's where we should set that. Because if you don't do that, what happens? Families have to work.
Exactly.
And then what happens? Their kids aren't parented properly because their parents can't be home with them.
You know what? One thing about this show, that's why I'm going to name this show Straight Talk. Because if you don't like it, that's up to you. But I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be straight and talking. And what you just said just now, an article that I read, right here in Savannah, Georgia. When I tell y'all something, like it said Trump, back him up, go check what I say. Go back to the morning news. I know they keep copies of things from the 1800s. Because there was an article in the morning news or the evening press. You know, you used to have 2 papers here in Savannah one time, y'all. Evening press, Savannah Evening Press, and morning news years ago. And I remember just to show my name, Grover Thornton. And I think Dr. Faye, the late Dr. Faye, did this article. And I want y'all to know this, that more white girls got pregnant than black girls because that was doing the working hours, like you just said. They're home by themselves, that doing their working out. The parents are not there, and 2 jobs they got to work and all of that. More white girls got pregnant than the black girls, but you see, the white girls had the money to get abortions, and the poor black girls with the boy telling the lie that he gonna do this and do that, and she couldn't afford no abortion. So what they had to bring the babies home to their mamas, well, and that is the truth. So because they had a living wage, where people have to work and kill themselves to make ends meet.
You know, that's just a first step. A living wage, it's just a first step. The next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that when people want to go to work, especially single parents, and I have been a single parent, they want to feel as if their kids are safe and that they can afford to put them in a safe place. So that means we need sliding scale affordable daycare. That is, people pay for in a sliding scale from they don't get it for nothing, but they have to pay a little bit, but then it goes up depending on how much money you make.
Well, that's right.
And the next thing we need to do is expand our pre-K and our Head Start programs. Make sure that all of our children can go into pre-K. Why do we have a lottery for pre-K? I don't understand that. We have enough money to send all of our kids to pre-K, and that is what we should be doing. This way, when parents go to work, first of all, they can afford daycare. And right now, let me share this with you. Daycare should cost a family about 7% of their income. That's about what it should.
Yes.
In Camden County, it's 14% of your income in Camden County. And what does that mean? That means if I have to work as a single mom, I'm losing 7% of my monthly income.
Yes.
Extra 7%.
Yeah.
That's going that I can't use maybe for food.
Yes.
Or medicine or other that my family or I need fuel for my car. These have big impacts on working people.
That's what I wanted to know.
For, as you said, for the wealthy people, if they have to pay an extra $5 for something, that doesn't matter. But for people that are making $15 an hour or $18 an hour, that extra $5 or $6 does matter. And I want to respect our working families and their experience.
If you make $40 extra a month, that's $10 extra. That is a lot of things.
$40 is a tank of gas.
Exactly. Now
let's put it in real terms. $40 is a bag and a half of groceries.
Yeah, that's why I ask you.
$40 is taking your kids and getting them some new shoes.
Exactly. And here's the thing I read the other day, and what's your position on it? What you think should be done about it? 2/3 of the corporations pay no tax. So, Mr. Son, how do they pay no taxes? They get right off. First thing Trump gave all the corporation people he gave the business people a $2 trillion tax break. $2 trillion, what Trump did. So that takes all this money out of the economy. Takes all this money out.
His original tax bill cost, which Paul Ryan and the Republicans pushed through in the Senate, cost the American public $7 trillion in income.
Sure.
If those are made permanent, which they will be up in 2025, that law is up for renewal in 2020. I plan to let that die a long and cold death, because if we renew that, that's going to add almost $4 trillion to our deficit.
Yes.
We have to have fair taxes. You know, I think it's really interesting that my opponent created a policy called the fair tax policy that actually is one of the most regressive ideas, because what it does is it says, well, you won't pay any income tax anymore. We're just going to add a 23% tax on everything you buy.
That's terrible.
Well, how do you think that's going to work? Let's talk about our working family again.
Yes.
How do you think that? So their expenses are going to go up 23%, all of their expenses. That means gas, anything they pay taxes on, a car, if they have to buy a car repairs, anything is going to go up. So he calls this a fair tax. Here's what I call a fair tax. I call a fair tax that every single corporation in America has to pay a minimum tax based on their
income.
profitable,
Yes.
on their profits.
Yeah, when they profit.
Because they are an American company profiting on American consumers, and that means they should pay their fair
Now,
share.
let me just add this.
And in addition, people that are people of all incomes, of upper incomes, also need to pay their fair share of taxes. And that means we need to continue to create a stronger IRS so that the IRS can audit taxpayers, and especially wealthy taxpayers that sometimes take unusual deductions, so that we make sure we have money coming in order to pay for the things that really matter in this country, and that's making investments in our working families. So that, to me, is a fair tax.
Exactly. And that's why I asked you that question, because
It was
when
a
you,
great question.
ma'am,
It was a great question.
thank you. Now, the next thing I want to say that the people don't understand about, even the president said, it'll make everybody pay their fair share. They have so much write-off. Let me give you an example. I want the people to understand. Take the oil companies, for example. When they produce oil, they will only pay tax on a certain amount. Let's say, for instance, just hypothetically now, let's just say I do always do a simple thing that people could math and people could understand. Let's just say they produce 1,000 barrels of oil, but put that into 10,000. But I'm just saying you can understand it better when I say it like this. If they get $1,000, they produce 1,000 barrels of oil. Well, maybe for 400, they don't pay no tax on them. Now if you put that into perspective, a higher rate for production, you see how much money the oil companies getting away with?
You know, I think one of the things that you bring up, I think of when I hear you talking about that, is subsidies and subsidies to our corporations. You know, we provide subsidies
That's what it is.
To oil and gas, to agriculture, to financial institutions, and I'm not sure if I can remember the fourth one. Utilities, the utilities. And we need to take a look at those, because those are that's corporate welfare.
That's what it is.
For subsidies is corporate welfare.
Exactly.
And we need to take a look at these subsidies. You know, people are very concerned about Social Security and Medicare and how we're going to continue to pay that. Well, we have a lot of things we can look at. There's a lot of things in the pot that we need to examine that have been just going on year after year after year. Are these things still working, or subsidies? You know, subsidies are designed to incent and motivate a company to a certain behavior. Is that happening? So we need to take a look at that and see if we don't switch some of those things up. We definitely don't need to be providing corporate welfare. We want to if we have subsidies, we want those subsidies to matter to our
let me ask you this.
Constituents.
Let me ask you this. I know we talked about income, and I think what is your position when it comes to it's expensive renting houses? That's one thing that Ms. Harris was speaking the other day, not on the chalk here. Why should we have organizations on the TV? And I'm not bragging, because the Lord blesses me. I give money to UNICEF, Feed the Children. Actually, I go get an American Special Statement, let you see for yourself, every month for the last 2 to 3 years. And I give money to Feed the Children. And right here in Savannah, Georgia, I'll call a lady name is right at Cedar Citizen Complex there. She'll tell you, I get $25 a month to feed citizens right here in Savannah. Her name is Patti. I think it's Patti, Patricia, whatever it is. I told her, stop sending me letters everybody thanking me. I said, that's my obligation to try to help when I can. She told me how this old black lady didn't have anything to eat, and what she would do, she boiled onions, and that's what she drank, onion soup. There's no food. So somebody had told her about the Senior Citizen Complex and about Meals on Wheels. Her name was Patti, and she told me, somebody told her, so she had an old $5 bill, and what she said, wrinkled and old. And somebody helped her wrote a letter. She wrote and asked, please accept this $5 to help me get some food. That never should happen. Why in America Why in America, the greatest country in the world with food and everything, why you see on the television all the time, sitting by the food to feed children? We got more. I'm talking about feeding children here in America. Why should any child go hungry in America? The richest country in the world.
The richest country in the world.
I don't understand
and
that.
Why should we have anyone that is food insecure in this country?
Well,
Everyone should have access to food.
Yes.
Our children should. If our children need a meal, we should give them a meal. If they need a meal, this is something I love about our Vice President Harris's running mate, Tim Walsh. You know what he did in Minnesota?
Yeah, sure.
He said, if kids want a meal, give them a meal.
Exactly.
That's it. No paperwork. No, we just feed you.
Well, what do you
and
think?
Doesn't that make sense? Can't we afford to feed our kids? Because you know what? Kids that are well fed are healthier. Healthy kids do better in school. Healthy kids are better with their families, and that creates prosperity.
Absolutely. See, these are things that our country that she wants to do. And in order for her to get all these accomplishments, Miss Patti, they got to elect you to this Congress. They have to do this. This is what I'm telling you. This is the most crucial time in the world to vote. They do everything to keep you from voting. In Georgia, like I said on my show last month, and I know you heard this before too, that you drinking that water. If I'm in line, if you brought me a bottle of water, who'll go to jail? You heard me ask that question at Mr. Man the other day, 2 weeks ago. Who go to jail? I go to jail because I want to bring me the water? Or does the person who bring me water go to jail? That's obnoxious. That's stupid. That's rude. That's to keep a black person from voting. They know that's the only time, ladies and gentlemen, we are equal to the man, filthy rich. He can't vote legally but one time.
And that's why they wanted to eliminate absentee ballot drop boxes and
all
put
of
them
that
inside, so it was difficult to get to them, because those help people who maybe they're senior citizens,
don't have automobiles
to get
and
out
all
of
that.
their house. Maybe it's people who work 2 jobs and they can't get to the polls.
Exactly.
Right? We need to make sure. I don't understand, if the Republicans are so concerned about voting, let's let everyone vote. I would like to see a national holiday on election day, a national holiday on election day, so that everyone in the United States can go vote if they want to. But the other thing we need to do is make voting easier for people.
Yes.
Make it easier for them to vote by absentee.
They don't want black people to vote. Just call it.
Open up more precincts, different ways you can vote. States have experimented successfully with these methods. We should be looking at this and moving our voting into the 21st century, not trying to put it back to paper. I mean, what's going to be next? We're going to have a stone tablet and tap a stone tablet.
Yes.
I mean,
but
it doesn't make sense.
Ms. Patti, I ask you all these questions because I want you to know your position on. But I'm going to call a spade a spade. It's not. All this stuff really is geared against African Americans and people of color, because we all vote Democrat. So I say to a Republican friend of mine, I say, if the Republican Party won first place, the history would tell you it was the Republican Party that freed black people, ladies and gentlemen. It was the Republican Party. Abraham Lincoln started the Republican Party. He was in debate all the time with Mr. Douglas, who was a senator. He ran against him and lost the election for the Senate. And when the Republican Party started, they did all these wonderful things for black people. The 13th Amendment freed black people in 1865. And then come the 14th Amendment, 1868. That's the first time we became a citizen in this country, like I told you all before. And in 1860, that's when the 15th Amendment got a right to vote. And they've been trying to keep us from voting ever since that bill been in the Constitution. All kind of laws. I just told you about gerrymandering. They removed this and removed that, make it difficult and hard. Average black person, they got no car, so he can't do this. They want to stop the mail-ins. All of that. This against African American and people of color. But I'm here to tell you.
And poor people.
And poor people.
And poor people in general. People that have a hard time.
And I'm here to tell you, if this lady get in here, and when Ms. Harris become president, I'm gonna be positive. And if she gets the House of Representatives and she get the Senate, all of these things will be true. Now, I'm going to tell you what hurt me the other day. It really hurt me. I thought Obama had solved that problem. and it was, came up. Biden did one thing good, another good thing he did. God knows he's been a great president. That is their own agricultural department of the United States government suffered and did terrible things to black farmers. I can't believe this, that they were feeding white people, brown people, everybody in America. They will not give them the opportunity to borrow money for their machinery, when they need tractors, when they need all the things that makes farming profitable. They couldn't get loans. So what did Biden do the other day? Well, they had the money, but coat after coat trying to get the money, but hell up here. All the techniques they were trying against that black farmers. And when Obama got in the office, God bless him, he immediately had them to give the farmers their checks that they deserved, that they should have, other than going to court. And what did Mr. Biden do 2 weeks ago? Gave the farmers $2 billion. Look at the suffering they have done by their own government. That's what got me. I was suffering as a black man my race because the government did nothing. And I always have 13 states control the 38 seats. The rest were 50 states, so subtract that from 50. They control things. The government allowed them to do that. I can understand that. Black folk, this was suffering. They hanged 500 black men right here in Georgia. And you had senators fighting against the anti-lynching law. Can you believe that?
It's shocking.
I met Herman Talmadge one night, who was the governor, and all that dirty crooked things he did, and they fined $80,000. His wife told it when they divorced. He had $80,000 in an overcoat pocket in the closet. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
You didn't know that? That was all in the papers, all over TV. But here's the thing. I was a member of the Political Advisory Council, which made a lot of changes back in the 60s. So I know I did my work, had my race. And we had a big meeting getting ready for elections. And we had a big political meeting over second after the Baptist church. So I was in the church and I got a little tired and restless. So I would go outside and take a little break. And who did I see walking down, just a short my name, Grover Thorne, walking down the sidewalk? Herman Talmadge. And I said, that's like Herman Talmadge. And I went right up to him. I said, good evening, Senator. He said, fine. And your name, and I told him. I said, I got one question I want to ask you, sir. If I might. He said, yeah, go ask me. First, I'd like to know what he coming over around our meeting for. He's not running for office anymore. He used to be a senator. And I asked him, I said, I can ask you a question, sir. He said, sure, ask me. I said, why were you so nasty and hard on black people? If I didn't answer Christ, they'd go to the cross, and I know he did, because I'm a sinner. I asked that question. You know what his reply was to me, ma'am?
No, what did he say?
He said, well, let me ask you this. Do you think I was the only one doing that? Don't you know that was what everybody was doing? I couldn't say nothing, because that's exactly what all of them were doing. Calling the N-word and just doing everything they can. How they got on office was to put down and low rate and belittle and demean African-American people. But now we're coming up. I never thought I'd dream to see a black president, not to think of your mama and my mama, my daddy and all that.
Now we're going to have a woman.
Now we got a woman and a black woman.
Yeah.
That's why God spared that rascal. God spared him. Because every day I was asking God, bring him down. I'm telling you the truth.
It is
bring him down.
Be a new dawn.
And God is bringing him down. You got money, people come up and endorse her. The United Auto Workers, some other union, and the young people getting involved. All this. The Spirit of God is moving among the people. Now let me just justify what I was saying about the casket. That's my personal opinion. Bin Laden knocked down 2 buildings in New York. And I was looking at the TV back there when they did that. I was just watching TV and Katie Kirk. I don't know where she went to stay. That's her name. She was you remember the name Curtis Kirk? All right, they know I ain't telling no lie. Curtis Kirk, I was watching NBC. It wasn't no MSNBC now that I look at down. It was NBC, Channel 3. And she said, I interrupted this program. We got to interrupt it. Something emergency happened. And she said, some plane ran into the tower. And Brady, I saw the second plane and it was going right into that tower. I saw it. I said, oh my God, look at this plane going right into the tower. Bam! That's right. Over 2,000 people dead. And Obama got rid of him. You don't hear nothing about being right behind no more. That's what I was saying about Trump. So I thought I was justified to tell you why I said that casket. You don't hear nothing about Bin Laden. You don't hear nothing. You don't hear his name. He was terrible. Killed over 2,000 people. Of course, they had the racism in there too now. You ain't hardly had no, call all them names to be calling. I didn't hardly have nobody black name, no common black name. Like Sarah Sam say, well, all I know is like Bubba. This name and that person. They hardly call no black person name. So I'm just telling you, we got to get out there and vote. If we get that lady, when she win there, I'm going to be optimistic. Now Trump, now he wants to come back and vote, debate on the September the 10th now because he's dropping like a fly. He's dropping, losing people. People getting excited. Just happy.
Get excited. Get
and that's
out
why
and
I'm
vote.
saying,
Make your vote plan.
That's what I'm saying about you on this show tonight, where I'm talking to my people. Get out and vote. That's the only way. I got one more minute in this show. And Miss Hewitt,
Oh, it's
I'm gonna
been
give you this.
wonderful.
I'm gonna give you this last minute we got on this show before I say goodbye to my audience. I had over 1,000 people last month and the month before, and I hope y'all will tell other people. I'm 91 years old, and in about 3 months the Lord bless me. And I still got my mind, but my day is coming. I know every man born of a woman is soon cut down. That's the scriptures, and not only the thing the scriptures say. And I want y'all to remember that no good Trump. It says this: he's dangerous, and here's what the Bible says: as a man thinketh, so is he. That's the word of God. Now go ahead. I'll give you the last minute show on this show, and you speak to the audience.
It is such an honor to be here with you.
Well, it's an honor for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Living History, and we are so privileged to have someone like him in our midst. And so I just want to thank you again for allowing me to be here. Look, I just want to go to work for the people. Yes. I have no other reason. I accelerated my retirement to devote myself full-time to this race. And when I'm elected to Congress, I'm going to devote myself full-time to you. I want to serve the people that have not been served in this district for a long time. I want to make investments in our working families and break the cycle of poverty. I want to give women back their rights. I want to work with my Democratic administration in Washington and my senators here in Georgia to do good for you so that you are more prosperous.
Well, in conclusion, I'd like to say let us keep working for peace. Let us keep working for freedom, for justice. For all of us belong to Almighty God. We are his children.
God bless
and we are
America.
supposed to love one another, and we can make our country great by doing these things. And she will be on again in October so she can remind you. And we got to get her elected. So get out and vote. Tell everybody. So have a good night. God bless you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Like this.